everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dad Can We Talk? I'm your host, Anthony Ray, and today I got a special guest with me today, man. One of the assistant coaches for the Florida football team. It's a guy that I grew up watching around Gainesville, Florida, man. He went to Gainesville High School, and I grew up just being able to see him, rise. I was good friends with his brother. So I always just look to him as one of those people in the community that was just always like a good and upstanding dude, man. And I just over the years, I've watched him, I've seen him, with his children, being a family man, and just always being someone that did work in the community. And I think this is going to be a treat for everyone, man, just hearing his story and hearing his side of the story when it comes to family and fatherhood. So I want to welcome to Dad Can We Talk, Vernell Brown.
How you guys doing, man? I appreciate you having me, man. This is a topic and a role that I enjoy and I've always enjoyed, man, and very passionate about, man. So I'm happy to be here to be able to share my view and how I see things as a dad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, first question I always like to ask on Dad Can We Talk is, what can you tell me, what was your relationship like with your dad?
I was fortunate enough to have my dad in my life, man, and my dad was always influential to me, still is to this day. My dad and I, even now that I'm almost 40, my dad and I still talk if, I'm at the house. And I've been I left to go to college, but we still conversate, man, sometimes for hours. I don't live, I'm an hour away from where I work, so I can't tell you how many times going into the office, we talked the entire way there. Coming home, we talked the entire way back. Growing up, my dad was largely responsible for really everything that I done, because one of the things that he always did, and one of the things I strive to do with my kids, and really any kid that I touch, have an opportunity to put my hands on, is just kind of show them the ropes, kind of prepare them for life. The way things, we live in a time and in a world where obviously things are different. And I think the more conversation and dialogue you can have with kids, how to navigate, especially as being, young Black males and females, the better prepared they'll be. And that was one of the things my father always strived to do. Like I say, he's largely responsible for the man I am today. One of the things he always told me, man, is you don't have to hit every brick wall because it's out there. You can let me and others guide you around some of them. So once again, always been a pillar in my life and still a pillar in my life today. But we've always had a really, really close relationship. So that's kind of how things were with my dad growing up. I was fortunate enough to have my dad in my life this entire time growing up and even as an adult.
Yeah, man. And it's so powerful that you say that, even as a 40-year-old man, some people look at it like, well, when I'm a grown man, like I think some people don't really understand the impact that a dad, your relationship doesn't stop at 18, or there's no age limit to, like when you're a dad, that's like a lifelong thing, and it's just powerful to hear you say that, and just be able to see, because, like I say for me, I grew up right there in Tree Trail. So y'all were right there on what, 12th Street?
11th Street.
11th Street. Y'all were right there on 11th Street. And I just always remember Vince. And, I just watching y'all, I remember coming to y'all house, jumping on the trampoline and stuff. And It was just always something that, I enjoyed just being around Vince, because I'm like, I looked at y'all family, like the family, like, like I ain't never really had, having my mom and the dad in the house together. And I just always loved y'all family, bro. And I always liked to be around, for the little times that I was able to come around. It was just like, dang, like I like this right here, go to Vince's house, and y'all always had the little snacks and stuff. And it was just something for me to see that, and to see y'all dad there. Vince was one of my only friends, that I knew who really had an active dad in his life. And, I see where y'all are today, and it's just, like, it's something that I really appreciate to be able to see where y'all are right now. And even I seen your dad a couple of weeks ago at Howard Bishop track. And I was just like, dang, you know, that's Mr. Brown. You know, I ain't seen him in so long. And it's just to see him still right there, bro. It's like a pillar in the community. And man, that's powerful to hear you say, you know, everything you just said, man, because it's a really good thing to know that even now, you know, as grown men, that you can still look to your dad and have those conversations with him, man.
Absolutely. I think one of the things, man, that always made my dad unique, and honestly, I think both my brother and I can speak for my brother and definitely myself. We kind of model our lives that way. You know, obviously we have a wife and kids now, and obviously whatever we can do, we're gonna be there for our family. But the one thing that I've always seen my dad do since I was young was not only did he take care of his family, but he also reached back and tried to help other kids out of that I kind of learned through him, and to this day. I mean, if you go back to the 2014 when the Gainesville Panthers started, even before that, the dealings I had with Gainesville Pop Warner, it's always been one of those things. I've even had different classmates of my kids that, you know, might not be as well as fortunate as my kids are, but, you know, just offering them the opportunity to come to the house, go on vacation with us, do different things, and just kind of help them navigate life also. I think that's another big thing that I learned directly from my dad, because growing up the entire time, that's what he always done. It wasn't just about us, but even going to football practice, my dad had a pickup truck full of kids.
Yeah.
You know, that make sure they ate, they ride to the game with us, chill out all day with us, go to eat with us, and bring them home, or they stay the night. That's one of the things I grew up watching my dad do, but I can't tell you how many kids. And honestly, why I think a lot of people in the Gainesville community still look up to my dad, because when they were young, even though they're all adults now like myself, my dad did spend time with them. And like I said, he wasn't just selfish and about his kids, it was about all kids. And my brothers adopted that mentality, and to this day, man, just like it was over on 11th Street way back in the day when Vince came on. Well, right now where I live at now, my house is still the neighborhood hangout, just because it's that same vibe. You know, I'm here, my wife here, all 5 of my kids here. My brother is here a lot of the time, and then everybody from the neighborhood comes and play, and we just hang out. And you know, our kids still play like we did back when we were growing up, where punishment to us was you can't go outside, whereas today's punishment is you got to go outside.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that stuff carried over, man, and it all started once again with my dad.
That's real, man. And I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be one of my questions for you. You know, I was going to ask you about how has coaching been an extension of fatherhood for you? You know, I see the work that you do in the community, and can you talk about just the impact that you've seen as you've done work with kids, and what type of impact you've seen on other kids just from being able to have that relationship with you guys?
Well, I think, you know, unfortunately in today's climate, the traditional family with mom, dad, sisters, and brothers is few and far in between. So as many opportunities if you can give the kids that don't have that an opportunity to come into your family and kind of, you know, see that structure day to day, I think it helps a lot. And, you know, the biggest thing, like I said, not only for my kids, but for all kids, you just kind of want to prepare them for life. And even in my role and what I do at the University of Florida, you know, I'm the director of player development there, and my whole focus, even though I'm a football guy, however, that's not my focus. My focus is more about, okay, what are you doing to better yourself off the field, making sure that guys are maximizing all the resources available for them during their college career, that they're ready to springboard into the NFL or the corporate America. You know, so that's I think that's the biggest piece. Is just being able to show that family structure that's well needed for the success of African American males and females, and then just being able to prepare them for the different roads to travel as they navigate life.
That's real. That's real, man. That's powerful. I want you to talk on this. You know, what has fatherhood taught you? You know, like you said, you have 5 children. How old is your oldest?
My oldest is 16 and my baby's 5, man.
Ooh, so you 16 years in, boy. So in those 16 years, what has fatherhood taught you?
Man, obviously I wear a lot of hats and play a lot of roles in my life, but the one that's near and dear to me is being a father. I mean, that's the one role where you're hands-on from the day they are on this earth until the day hopefully leave.
Yeah.
And you see the fruits of your labor day to day. I mean, just to see, once again, my kids are 5, 11, 13, 15, and 16. And just to thank for my 15 and 16-year-old, not too long ago, you know, we were going to 5th grade graduations and this, that, and the other. And now I have one that's about to be a junior and one that's about to be a sophomore in high school. My oldest daughter actually just about to get a license, and she has a license because of the whole COVID-19 and them not administering the driving test. But just to see them navigate from being that little girl that used to follow you around, just daddy and daddy this, daddy that, sitting at their sports events, so forth and so on, to now they're about to be driving themselves to practice and pretty soon high school graduation. So man, that's one of the things I think, just being a father and just being in that role in general, just to see the kids progress, man. And like I said, not just with my kids, but with all kids, as you see progression, as I'm in Gainesville now and I'm primarily for work, but my oldest daughter does attend Eastside High School, so I'm able to go to Eastside High School events because she cheers. And so just all the kids now that are playing that were 5, 6, 7 years old in my Gainesville Panther organization years ago, and now those kids in high school and some of them get ready to go off to college, man, and just to see, our young African-American men and women grow up to be productive young citizens, man, is a big deal and something that I love to see and something that I always be passionate about.
Man, that's real. That's real. So how is it raising teenagers, man? Like my oldest is 7. So just from having this 7-year-old, I'm like, boy, it's still kind of real, boy. She's starting to come into her own.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, shoot, boy, she only 7. I don't want to know what it's going to be like when she get 12, 13, 14 years old, man. So what, you got 2 teenagers or 3?
I have 3 teenagers. So my 2 girls, 16 and 15. And then my oldest son is 13. He'll be 14 in December. And then my baby boy is 11. He'll be 12 in July. And then my baby girl is 5. She'll be 6 in October.
Okay. How is it, man? Like, give me some pointers, bro, because I want to be ready for that when that time comes.
Well, I think the biggest thing, man, is just being there, spending time with them and having an open line of communication. They get to the teenage years, because that's when life starts to happen,
Yeah.
Pretty sure you can think back to some of the things that you or your friends or people that you knew may have been involved in that our parents may not have been so proud of, and you want to educate your kids, because the reality of it is those same situations and sometimes more they're going to face. You just want to educate them on the do's and the don'ts, and more importantly, talk about the different paths that are out there and the goals that they have, the goals and aspirations that they have, because I think if you can get your kids as teenagers to see the big picture and focus on their long-term goals, it's easy to keep them on track in the meantime, because it's a decision you're about to make, or whatever it is you're about to do, on the same path as the goal that you told me you want to reach. Then I probably don't need to make that decision to engage in that activity. But if it is, then I need to do it with no reserve. And so that's the biggest thing, man. Just having that open line of communication, having a real relationship. For me, that wasn't that hard because I have girls. Girls tend to do some of the dads, but it's way for my sons. I mean, I'm just as close to them as I am my daughters. Now my daughters are older, so obviously they're, further along in the process as far as becoming a young adult. And so the conversations with them are a little bit different, just because now preparation for the real world starting. Like I said, my oldest she'll be driving now if she can take a driving test. And my middle daughter, my 15-year-old, will turn 16 in November, so she'll be driving shortly after. So now it's real conversations, because there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with driving. Obviously, daddy paying for it, but I want to make sure you're able to manage having a car and this, that, and the other too. Obviously, we'll handle the insurance and all that good stuff, but the week gas, you know, the maintenance of the car, just making sure you let me know, okay, Daddy, I'm getting close to my oil change. Those realities in life that not only start now, but they'll continue well after you leave this house. Preparation for those things are important. And once again, I think regardless of what age they are, it's all about preparation for what's coming. Whether she's 7 like your daughter or like mine, obviously you got to tailor the preparation down to their level. But once they hit 13, 14, 15, 16, it's all about real life preparation. Because at some point from this roof, they're going to go off to college or what have you, and then they'll be on their own. And so those basic skills and things that you've instilled and encouraged them to learn while they were at home, now that'll be the first time that they're able to utilize them out in the real world. I never forget a realization moment that I had. You know, growing up, one of the things we had to do is we always had to take out the garbage, you know, and sometimes you want to take out the garbage, sometimes you didn't. But that was a thing for myself and my brother when he got of age, we had to take out the garbage. Well, when I bought my first house, man, the first week there, the trash man ran, I think it was like on a Wednesday. So Tuesday night, I'm going around back to take out the garbage. And I'm like, man, it's why my dad always made us take out the garbage. You know what I mean? Because, hey, you're going to be taking out your own garbage, not the one from the house from your mom and your dad, but the one for you, your wife, and your kids.
Yeah.
So that's just a small example and a small nugget of something that was done for me in my childhood. And I had that aha moment when I bought my first house, the first time I had to put my garbage can outside the road.
Yeah.
So, you know, all boils back down to preparation, man, and just having an open line of communication and more importantly, just a real relationship with your kids.
That's real. That's real. And that, like you say, that's something that I'm trying to establish now. You know, I always catch myself in certain things. You know, I'll be upset with my daughter and, you know, she'll be trying to say something to me. And sometimes I'm like, no, just don't say nothing else. You know, just go to your room. And then I'll catch myself in that moment, like, man, you know what? I might need to let her say what she needs to say because I don't want to make her feel like she can't, you know, go into speaking what she speaking her mind and giving her side of the story. And I don't want to make her feel like, well, you know, I don't want to go to daddy because he ain't gonna let me talk anyways. And that's something that I really catch myself doing a lot, you know, and I'm really trying to get better at keeping that line of communication open because I know that as she gets older, like, I don't want her to feel like, oh, well, if I've done something or like, I don't want her to feel like if I'm upset with her, she can't talk. Right. You know, or there's no communication between me and her just because I'm upset with her. Right. That's something that I'm really trying to learn right now, you know, as she's getting older, to allow her to, you know, get what she, you know, it's all right if you're upset, you know, tell me how you feel and tell me what you think. Right. And I want to be that parent that listens. I still might tell you, even after you tell me what you're going to say, I still might tell you, well, you're still wrong. Right. But I want to give her the opportunity, you know, to be able to say what she said she wants to say.
Well, I think if you do that while she's young, then time as she progresses and gets older, she'll start coming to you for guidance and pointers on. And that's kind of what you want, because you want your kids to learn. At least for me, I want my kids to learn why they're in a controlled environment. One thing I don't want is my kids to learn when they leave home, because the world is a different place, and it has a way of teaching lessons. But sometimes, you know, in learning them, boy, it's a struggle. Yeah. You know what I mean? As much as, once again, going back to preparation, if it's saying, you know, one that I can categorize, you know, parenting outside of, you know, just loving your kids and being there for them, is preparing them for the world. Because to me, that's the worst thing. And that's always been one of my biggest fears as a father. You know, God forbid something happened to me or I'm not there and I hadn't prepared my kids for the world as much as I could. And so that's one of the things that's near and dear to me. So they know how to navigate and know how to operate. You know, even if they might not fully understand it at the time, but as things happen, well, my daddy probably would have told me to do X, Y, and Z in this moment. And so now you have some reference to how to navigate whatever issue or problem you having, versus it just happening and you having no clue which way to turn or which way to go.
That's real.
That's why, like I say, outside of kids and loving your kids, prepare for the next phase in life is the next most important thing to me as a father and as a dad.
Mm-hmm. That's real. That's real, man. So I know that y'all was running the Gainesville Panthers program here in Gainesville for a few years. And, you know, I remember hearing about you being about to leave Gainesville. And I know that probably was something that was hard for you to leave, you know, to leave behind. I remember you making a post on Facebook about, you know, just that whole ordeal. I want you to talk about that. Like, how hard was it to leave behind the program that you built and move on to that next phase in your life? You know, I know there were a lot of kids that you were connected to. I want you to just kind of speak on that.
It was very tough, and to be honest with you, man, you know, despite the success I've had and the progression that I've made, and just, you know, that of my, you know, football and professional arena, that's one of the things that to this day I still miss the most, man. I miss. I mean, there's nothing like the smiles that you see on those kids' faces on Saturdays and at practice and throughout all the we did with the Gainesville Panthers. You know, myself, my dad, and my brother, along with our wives and my mom and a lot of other, you know, people kind of helped the Gainesville Panthers have success. But the thing, you know, that kind of frustrated me back then is it wasn't done for any notoriety or anything. It was just an avenue to get the kids a first-class program and have first-class experiences. And unfortunately, a lot of people take, when they have good things going, you don't appreciate good things until they're gone. That's and so real. When I presented itself to leave, and I kind of had to sit down and kind of put things in perspective. This, you know, very rarely do I have to make decisions for myself and my family. It's always about everybody else, just because that's how I was raised. Okay, well, how it affects these people, not just my wife, my kids, my brother, his family, my mom, dad. No, it was about everybody. But despite some of the troubles that we were having during that time, just with the community, you know, it was the first time. And I tell people all the time, I think that was, to a certain degree, God's way of making me focus on my wife and my kids for a little bit, because my kids had never really, up until we relocated, my kids had never had me to themselves. Yeah. It was all them, a bunch of other kids, which is, like I told you earlier, that's how I was raised. Yeah. But when we first moved, it was just us for a little while until we got established here, and then the same thing started here with other kids, other families, and I blood. And then a year after I moved, my brother and his family relocated here, and he started to assist with a lot of those things. And then once again, it was a variation of the Gainesville Panthers here where we live at. So that, you know, to this day, man, like I say, when I go to different events in Gainesville and I see a lot of those kids who are not much older than what they were when the Gainesville Panthers was going on, but man, just to see them, and that's all the kids and the parents want to talk about is the Gainesville Panthers. Because once again, a lot of the time you take good things for granted until they're no longer there, no longer exist. And then, you know, once you experience some other, come back, you man, I sure wish we still was doing X, Y, and Z. I still wish the Gainesville Panthers was here. I miss doing all the different things that we did as an organization and as teams, so forth and so on. I miss it. Like I say, I wish there was a way I can get intertwined with that again. Unfortunately, because of the level I work at and regulation, I can't do anything. Like, I can't attend a high school event unless one of my. So with that being said, I can really only go to Eastside's events because I have a daughter there. Yeah. And then go to Wildwood Middle High School, so I go to Wildwood. Other than that, I can't attend the high school events, so I get a chance to see all the kids just out and about in the community. And then occasionally when I go to those different events, man, we talk, we laugh about all the good times we had. You know, 2014 to 2013 to 2016, before I moved.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's real. You said something real important in there, man, about how your family had never really had a chance to have you to themselves. I don't think a lot of people when they're not married, you don't have a family, really understand the dynamic of being able to balance, you know, your work life, you know, even when it comes to your family, you know, balancing time when it comes to your wife and your children separately, you know, and that could be a really hard thing to be able to really get that quality time in with your children and also with your wife. Can you
Right.
talk about that dynamic and how you manage balancing your time between, you know, work, marriage, and children?
That's always been a tough dynamic. And you know, one thing that's kind of be able to balance that is my wife is really understanding, and she understands the person that I am, and I'm about helping others and other people. So she understands that. My kids, to be honest with you, they never knew anything else
Yeah,
because in the world they've been sharing daddy.
yeah,
So it was kind of new territory for them when they didn't have to share daddy for the short period of time they didn't, when daddy was just all about them. And to be honest with you, it was kind of a blessing because it was at, you know, a pivotal time for my girls who are now, you know, older teenagers, and even my boys who were getting ready to creep into, you know, double digits. And, you
yeah,
know, my boys, especially my oldest one, were always further along in their age. So it actually aligned and timed out perfect. But once
mhm,
again, it lasts long. And I think my kids appreciate it. However, they also appreciate and understand, not for lack of better words, not having daddy to themselves, because that was a way of life. My
yeah,
wife stood, that was a way of life for me. And we take advantages of the opportunities that we can. But even now with my job now, it's even more challenging because I live an hour away from where I work. So
yeah,
once again, 2 hour commute throughout the day, whether it's in the morning going to work and then in the afternoon coming home. And then sometimes it even, you know, my job requires me to I have to stay. So we had to navigate all of that, which, like I say, worked out fine because my wife is really good and has always been really understanding to the different things that I had going on, whether it was Gainesville Panthers organization, or just my job at the University of Florida. She understands that that's part of my, and I'm one of the guys that get the calls when everybody else at home. If something going on, I'm gonna get the call at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I might have to run and go see about a different situation. So she understands that, she navigates that as well as my kids. So it's a challenge, I think, for every family. But I think it's important for, you know, your spouse to understand who you are, and your kids to kind of understand who you are, and know that you're not choosing other things and other people over them. You
yeah.
know, it's that way of giving back to the community. And I always tell my kids all the time, you'll always be blessed as long as you help others.
That's real. That's real. And I think that's something that they'll always remember, you know, being able to see you in that light, seeing how you communicate with others in the community and how you're always helping. And like you said, you seen your dad doing that.
Right.
And because of you seeing your dad doing that, now you do the same thing. And I think that's important for your children to see that from you, because now when they get older, then they'll do the same thing. And I think that's something that we really need, you know, in our community. I don't think a lot of people really, most people were just, I'm all about me and my family.
Right.
But sometimes we need people who are willing to be selfless, because if not, you know, and this is something I was talking with my wife about one time, you know, I'm like, you know, it's easy for us to say that, oh, well, because me and her, we had this conversation. We were having a conversation about home economics in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, I feel like home economics should be an elective in the schools. I feel like everything else is an elective. Like you can take a class for computers, you can take a class from knitting and sewing, you can take all of this. And I feel like there should be an elective for home economics. And her thing was, why would we have that in the schools when that is home economics? They should be learning that stuff at home. And I'm like, well, everybody ain't as fortunate as our children to have, you know, a mom and a dad at the house. Everybody just ain't in that position, you know.
Right.
So you need people in the community who's willing to, you know, take on other people's children you know, and put that time in, because if not, but like we need people like that, but at times there's not, you know, anyone willing to do that. So I feel like, okay, what if they had that option at the school? Because the kids gonna go to school. So if they had that option in school, I think that would be something that would be, you know, a lot of kids would take advantage of that, because a lot of times you can't find people in the community who's willing to say, hey, let me bring you into my house, you know, and take you up under my wing and teach you, you know, some things about the home.
Right.
And, you know, and that's why I thank God for people like you, man, you know, who takes that time to put, you know, at times you're willing to give your time, not just to your family, but to other people's children also.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it all boils back down to kind of the conversation you and your wife were having about, you know, home economics, is that word preparation.
Yeah.
School curriculum, I understand the different guidelines, the math, the reading, science, and all those different guidelines that they have. But I think we do have to get back to, as a community and as state legislation, as to where you include a lot of those things in school as options, because it's real. A lot of people don't have the house. I mean, you think about school being canceled basically from March on.
All right.
A lot of the time, man, for some kids in the world we live in, that was their only structure.
All right.
That was their only guaranteed meal.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's a different topic, but I'm using that as an example of the reality of it is we do need some of those other courses and classes in our curriculum for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, you know, back when I was in elementary and middle school, I can remember, you know, home economics and a lot of those type of courses. Bishop. Well, now, hell, we were also with PE every day. Well, now kids like once a week. And
that's crazy.
That's a big difference. And the thing is, all of that time is being replaced with, to be totally honest with you, curriculum that is good, but all of it won't benefit you as you navigate life.
That's real.
It's good. Obviously, there's standardized testing. There's all these different things that you need to know that curriculum for. However, when you break it down and really look at life in itself, how many times you use algebra in life?
Not too many times.
Exactly. And so once those subject areas being offered, but I do have a little bit of an issue with those other subject areas. You know, for instance, cursive writing is a prime example. They don't teach kids. Well, if I don't know how to write in cursive, how am I supposed to sign my check?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to sign a check? How am I supposed to sign my child's permission slip or school documents when I don't know? And so those are just small things that have been taken out of the curriculum. But when we talk about preparation for us as dads, teachers, and really anybody in a role to influence, those are things that need to be offered. You know what I mean? If you look at curriculum from the idea of preparation, then you see the all things.
That's real. That's real, man. I wanted to ask you about this. Well, I want to go into some marriage talk, man. Like how many years have you and your wife been married?
Me and my wife been married 14 years, man.
Ooh, yeah.
14 years. So we've been in the game for a minute, man. You know, marriage is full of a lot of great things. I wouldn't change it for the world, but the reality of it is marriage does have a lot of ups and downs also.
Yeah.
And I think you can help adults persevere through those ups and downs, because, you know, there are a lot of broken homes in every aspect. I mean, everywhere. And so I think as parents, you try to do what you can, especially when you didn't come up in a broken home. You do whatever you can to try to keep your home together. And we've all obviously done a great job of doing that. And, man, we make the best of it. I think I've been home since this whole COVID-19 thing, the most I've ever been home. And really, we all know where to go. Obviously, my kids are big, and they're involved with all kind of travel sports and stuff. So we're always moving 100 different directions along with me to and from work. Yeah. So, you know, this was I tell people all the time, man, this was one of the best timeouts God could ever call.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I've ever spent this much time home with nothing to do and nowhere to go outside of just enjoying my wife and my kids.
Yeah. That's real, man. That's so real. You know, like you say, I feel like, I mean, just for everybody, you know, we all be going 100 miles per hour every day, bro. You know, we always got something over here, always got this going on. And it's like, I feel like God was just like, I'm going to make y'all really sit down, you know, because, you know, especially with everything that we had going on, just even at the beginning of this year, you know, 2020 just been crazy, period.
Right.
And, you know, like you say, God, like, time out. No, hold up. I need for y'all to really focus. And in this time, it's like, if, you know, a lot of people been saying it, if you don't come out of this time, you know, more wise, you know, more smart, you know, if you don't come out of this time with nothing, you failed, man. You know, like, everyone should have something that they've been working on, something, you know, new visions, new ideas, you know, and especially, and then for us to have wives and kids and stuff. Now, me and my wife, we still been working through all of this. So it's been kind of hard for us, you know, not with my oldest daughter not being able to go to school. The kids have been able to still go to daycare, and that's helped us out tremendously with both of us still working. But it's been a struggle, you know, being able to still having to still work and having everything going on. But even in this time, you know, I think that my wife and I have gotten stronger. You know, we really become more stronger and more close during this period, man. And yeah, I like what you say when you say that, you know, because it's important, you know, to really spend that time when it comes to marriage, you know. And this is something that I always tell guys. When it comes to marriage, bro, it's like anything else, you know. If you don't put the time in, you only gonna get out of marriage what you put in it. You know, so if you're never taking that time to, especially when you know, like you say, what, 14 years after, I just hit 8 years this year. So after 8 years, it's like, you know, it can easily become routine. And you forget to say, man, you know what? Let's have a date night. Let's go and do this together. And I know for me, I'll get to that point quick. You know, where I forget. And my wife be asking me, well, let's go do something. I'm like, man, I'm just chilling, you know. But I be understanding that she still, like, we still have to date each other. You know. So over the years, how have you and your wife, you know, navigated that, you know, continuing to keep that closeness with each other?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you got to be able to think outside of the box and outside of tradition, especially when you move like we move and travel like we travel, as far as work, kids, and this, that, and the other. Like I said, my kids, they play a lot of sports, and unfortunately, you know, sports cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
The highest level of different sports. So we've always been able to do this with my sons with basketball or football, and my daughter with soccer. Able to create moments within those moments where we only spending money one time and we spending the time anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it might not always be without the kids. You know what I mean? However, that still doesn't mean we can't enjoy each other because the kids are present. You know what I mean? That's one of the things we've always done. Just kind of made time for each other in what we already had going on or what has to be done. Because I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. And you know, when you work at the level in which I work at, certain times a year, I mean, you literally you all in 12 to 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
And once again, you add those 2 hours in to travel to and from. It's a challenge, you know.
Yeah.
Whenever that vacation time comes, which is a very short vacation time for us, we try to make the best out on vacation, just because we've been on lockdown during our vacation months at work. We're actually going back to work, which we've been working the entire time on. So once again, being able to be creative out of the box, and it might not always just be you and your spouse. However, that still doesn't mean you guys can't enjoy it.
That's real. One more last question on that. how would you say what was the impact of seeing your mom and your dad together over the years? What impact did that have on your marriage of
Well,
seeing that example?
I think, seeing that example, being an adult and even back as a kid, you've seen different interactions between your parents that may have warranted that, there was some things going on or what have you, but the ability to persevere.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing your parents, obviously all marriages go through ups, downs, struggles, so forth and so on, but the ability to want to be there for each other and be there for your kids, man, is a big deal. And seeing my mom and dad, kind of persevere through that, and even to this day, years later, like I say, I'm almost 40, so
Yeah.
To see my parents to this day, my brother and I are both long gone, and them still being able to enjoy themselves, and a lot of things, something else I think people should understand also, depending upon when you have your kids, your time to really enjoy each other may not happen until they gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think obviously you have to do different things to keep the spark there throughout the time where you're traveling throughout the 18 or however many years it takes for all of your kids to be gone. But, another thing to look forward to is, man, look, in 5 years, all my kids going to be gone. And then it's you and I, 42 years old, and we can go wherever and do whatever we want to do whenever we want to. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to think that way. Once again, I think the challenge to all of this, as far as being able to please your spouse and stay married, is thinking outside of the box and being creative and being positive with your mindset. Just because you experiencing issues, or it might not be enough time to do exactly what it is you want to do, doesn't mean do something. You know what I mean? And so being able to do that and come together and make the best of the opportunities that you could is something that I seen my parents do when I was growing up, and something that, I apply to my own marriage and relationship and family today.
That's real. That's real. Knowing everything that you know right now, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old Vernell Brown?
The biggest thing, man, is set goals.
Yeah.
Set goals and not just one goal. Not only set goals, but look at different paths, because there's no one path to success. There's a million paths to success. You just have to figure out which travel. Find people who are pillars in the community, like-minded, and talk to them about, and maybe a little bit older, and talk to them about your plans and what suggestions or advice would they give you in navigating those plans, that path. I'm sorry. And then, use the resources. You don't have to do everything, get everywhere on your own. There's some people that can help. Once again, going back to that saying that my dad told me since I was a little boy, you don't have to hit every brick wall because it's out there.
Yeah.
Let me in around some of them. So not being afraid to ask for guidance. And have a positive mindset. I think that's a large part of, even with what's going on today, in today's world, it's obviously a very, very bad thing. However, I think we as a community, we recognize what's going on. Now let's figure out how to navigate. You know what I mean? Not just saying that the everything, not being negative about everything that's happening. Okay, how can I turn this into a positive within my life? You know what I mean? I think it's unfortunate that somebody has to lose their life, for that to happen. However, I think the world is the way it is, and it's been that way for some time. And the only way we can start to change it is to get out and vote. You know what I mean? So with that being said, for lack of better words, it is what it is to a certain degree, and you got to figure out how to navigate that. You know what I mean? So, I mean, those are the best. Like I say, have different paths to success. Figure out how you want to navigate those paths, and keep your eye on the prize, because I think it all boils back down to decision making. How does this decision affect me? How does it affect my family? How does it affect my teammate? How does it affect my team or my organization or my company? If you keep that in mind, you'll make the right decisions. And when you have your eye on the prize, you'll always stay navigating towards that direction.
That's real. That's real. All right. So my last question: is there anything that you would like to say to any other young father out there listening right now?
Spend as much time with your family as you can, man. To be honest with you, I said, obviously when I was younger, I used to hang out a little bit. Never been much of, one to hang out a lot. But I think, the one thing you can never go wrong with any additional time you have with your wife and your kids.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody gonna take me out, guess what? 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be right in front of them because they're gonna be with me everywhere I go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's an arena that I can't take them, then is it really beneficial for me to go there? What good come out of me going there?
Yeah.
If there's people that I can't take my wife and my kids around, then why am I even going?
That's real.
So be aware of who you're hanging out with, and once again, you can never go wrong investing your time in your family. Never.
That's real. That's real, bro. Well, yeah, man. Hey, I definitely appreciate, man, you coming on and spending time and really being able to offer some wisdom, man, because I know it's a lot of things out of this that I'm gonna take, and when I came up with this platform for Dad Can We Talk, I never wanted it to be about me, and I don't never want anybody to think that I know it all, because I got a fatherhood podcast. Like, this ain't about me. This is about me inviting other men to share their wisdom. And, it's for other people to learn, but I also learn also, I believe that we all have something to offer to each other, man. And, like I say, bro, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and spending
I
this
appreciate
time, bro.
that's one of the many hats that I wear, man, that I take a lot of pride in, is being a dad.
Yeah.
Just to mine, but to all kids. Any kid that I can touch, I want to have an impact on them, and a positive impact. And I want that kid to be able to feel like, hey, if I need some guidance or some assistance, I can reach out to Vernell Brown and he's going to help me. You know what I mean? He's going to some guidance. And I've always been that way. I learned that honest from my dad. Well, really, my mom and my dad. And I try to relay that same message to my kids so that they're the same way. You can always benefit from helping somebody, and you may even learn from trying to help somebody. You know what I mean? We none of us know it all.
That's
and
real.
You can a lot of different things from different people in different walks of life. So don't ever look down on nobody. Help as many people as you can. And like I say, for a dad, man, you can never go wrong spending your excess time with your kids and your family. Never.
Real.
They'll appreciate that one day. And I don't know. I don't know how you could be a dad and not want the best for your kids.
Yeah.
I've always been not only about my kids, but all kids. I want the best for every kid because kids are innocent, and they only know what we teach them.
That's real.
Other than that, kids they're just innocent, and they didn't have to be in a lot of the bad situations that they're in. They just kind of were born into those situations, and so. Whether you're from a 2-parent home, single parent home, whether you're a single dad or a dad that get visitation, man, spend as much as you can with your kids.
That's real, man. Well, yeah, hey, that wraps up this episode of Dad Can We Talk. We had just had Vernell Brown on, man. So, like I say, for all my listeners out there, man, y'all stay tuned. We got some more interviews coming, man. We got some big things happening this season 2 of Dad Can We Talk, and we continuing to push it, man. Yeah, I appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir.